Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy. This is the Matt Murphy Radio Show. We appreciate you being around. Final hour of the show gets underway right now. RJ is at the controls. Executive producing the broadcast today is Jackson Williams, who's busy stroking his trophy. Ken Weaver's back in News Closet B. He gathers headlines for a living and delivers those headlines twice an hour and when it breaks. And our good friend Cameron Smith of the Tennessean is with us as well. He writes a lot in the Tennessean. He lives in Conservative Corner over there at the Tennessean, which is, my understanding, is a lonely, lonely place.
It's Conservative Closet.
Oh, pardon me. Conservative. Like, yeah, they don't want you to be seen.
Right.
Only when necessary. They open the door, you hand them some paperwork, they close the door again.
It's actually been really fun lately because there's been a lot of questions about the audience. And I'm like, we live in Tennessee.
And they're more conservative.
They happen to be more like me. So maybe
there should be more of you.
We should do that. And they're like, whoa.
What?
Radical.
That's weird.
I got to say, they're really fun to work with. Takuma Roback, who's the opinion editor over there, he's very left of center, but very engaging and very much like, I want to learn. Tell me about this conservative stuff. And it's true. And it's actually been really refreshing and fun. And it's been fun for me to, talk to him about it and say, hey, what about this? What about that?
He's from Chicago?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Chicago.
So it is hard for those of us in the South to contemplate, but I remember a moment with Andrea Lindenberg, my former co-host in Birmingham, and myself, where, and I've told this story in the past, that it was 2017. It was when Roy Moore and Doug Jones were going against one another when Jeff Sessions got appointed to be Attorney General. He was a sitting U.S. Senator in Alabama, and there was a replacement. And Robert Bentley appointed Luther Strange, who was the Attorney General of the state of Alabama.
Yep.
But then it was discovered that it was kind of a little quid pro quo because Bentley wanted the AG's office to stop investigating him.
It was gross.
Over some nastiness that he was engaged in with his chief of staff. I won't get into all of that, but it merited a special election. And because of the nastiness between Luther and Robert, Luther lost the primary and Roy Moore won it. So there was a lot of national attention on this story. Anyway, my co-host and myself, Andrea Lindenberg and myself, would go on. We were asked to go on ABC. We were asked to go on MSNBC. We were asked to go on CNN. We were asked to go on CBS. I don't think NBC ever asked us, but on multiple occasions,
I remember that.
We went on these networks. And many people in our audience were getting mad at us for going on these liberal networks. And our basic argument, and I stand by the argument today, is they don't understand how we do things in Alabama. Why would we not try to educate them in a knowledgeable and intelligent fashion as to how we do things in this state? Why would we not want to present our state in the best light possible? So with all of that going on, CNN came to our studio one day, and it was a dude by the name of Jason Carroll, I think his name was.
I remember
skinny,
this.
Skinny black guy who reported for CNN, and he had a producer with him. Right, and they wanted to do a sit-down about Roy Moore and a sit-down about the special election, and we did it. Well, during one of the breaks, we're talking to the executive producer, and Ani said, we are getting hell for going on your network. And she's like, and this woman is from New York. And she's like, why? And she's like, well, it's left of center. And she's like, what? She said, well, you're left of center. And she's like, no, we're not. So it began a discussion, and this woman was not putting on. She legitimately believed that CNN was straight down the middle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is a different planet that y'all live on if you think that we think you're straight down the middle. And so I'm not saying that your guy, the Tennessean, is that way, but, there are parts of the world where people think they're conservative, and if they came to us and they presented their values and their views, we would be like, you're not conservative.
But that's what I love about Takuma is he's he's willing to learn. He recognizes that I'm returning to he started his early career in this area and then came back from Chicago, and he's like, I want to learn. I want to build relationships. I want to understand. And I think he's going to do a really good job of engaging and wanting to make sure everybody's got a seat at the table to talk. And we were talking about all kinds of different people that we want to engage and bring in, because I think one of the cool things about the Tennessean right now is, hey, we want voices at the table. We want to have the conversations. We want to have conversations that are interesting to everybody. And I think, we have a lot of interesting conversations on the station.
Right.
And that's what people are interested in right now.
Well, let me. How big is the closet? I'll come in.
I don't want to.
I'm not really a conservative, but
I love you.
Do they have a little itty bitty libertarian?
I love you.
Like
I just don't
bucket?
want to be stuck in a closet with you.
No, because then we'd have to come out and be weird.
Yeah. If we both come out of the closet at the same time.
And then it's weird.
It's weird.
By the way, speaking of weird, I don't know if y'all have seen it over there in the control area, but I cannot believe the number of people that are voting for you, Jackson. It is ridiculous. Hey, Matt, if Ken needs to break the glass to get that trophy away from Jackson, I'll get him a new glass panel. I like that. As much as I hate to say it, Percy Jackson, that's some reference that I don't get, but so be it. The trophy thief.
Jackson?
Huh? Percy Jackson?
It's a book series, TV series.
Mm.
Yeah, my kids like it.
Anyway, as much as I hate it, Percy Jackson, the trophy thief, has to get the vote. The Michigan coach is a moron. Joker Jackson. I vote Jackson. That's one expensive prostitute. With all due respect, it's a slam dunk. Do the right thing, and the three of you need to concede to Jackson right now. Coach, I can't say that on the radio.
Oops.
But I think that's a vote for Jackson as well. I'm voting like a Democrat, so I'm voting for Jackson 10 times. Go Vols. See, I think these people are voting for you because they're hopeful that they can flip a commitment because the Michigan coach lost. Jackson wins. It proves men do not think with their brains. One vote for truffle butter. I mean, it keeps going. I got a couple of votes here, and I think Ken's got a couple of votes here, but I don't really think this is very close. There was another comment. Nah, it's too far down. There was another comment about Jackson and his trophy that I can't find right now, but it was pretty funny. All right, so Jackson, it looks like you will win today.
Feels like 98.
Yes, you were not born in 1998, but I'm certain that you can reflect on that with some of your elders about how it did actually feel when the Tennessee Volunteers were champions of the world. Andy Ogles, Congressman, 5th Congressional District.
Yep.
Does Andy Ogles have a point regarding his back and forth? Hold on, let me finish.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry, I thought that was the question.
He is going back and forth with these judges in Nashville. Let me just give you the background of the story. I'm curious your thoughts on it, Cameron. Ogles is frustrated, as many of us are, regarding some of the law-breaking that's happening in our community, particularly law-breaking of a violent nature. Judges of the Davidson County General Sessions Court are now demanding heightened security measures in response to comments made by U.S. Representative Andy Ogles, criticizing the judges who were a part of earlier cases against a man by the name of Muhammad Muhammad, who is a Somali immigrant. Now, we talked about this guy when this situation happened. It was several months ago, where it was discovered that this Somali illegal alien raped a woman who died from the attack, and he did so in front of a house of worship. It's very, very, the circumstances surrounding this were brutal. The woman was, she was not in her right mind. It's believed that she might have been high on some sort of drugs, making her obviously incapable of consenting to anything. This man he raped her, and she eventually died. Last Friday, Ogles posted a thread on social media on the X machine identifying the judges who were a part of previously dismissed cases against Muhammad leading up to the August attack, in which he was obviously arrested and charged with 4 counts of rape after allegedly assaulting the woman who died after being transported to Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Ogles said that Muhammad was, quote, arrested over a dozen times, and that's true, leading up to the August attack, but that in every previous case against the illegal alien, that they were previously dismissed by multiple judges in Davidson County General Sessions Court. The congressman listed the 6 judges and a brief summary of their cases with Muhammad, including, the Tennessee Star article that I'm reading from lists the judges: Jim Todd, Aaron Holt, Robin Kimbrough Hayes, Linda Jones, Melissa Blackburn, and Rachel Bell. Every judge and prosecutor who let him off the hook was a Democrat. As long as local liberals are running things in Middle Tennessee, we're at war. The state should impeach all of the judges. Send the Guard to Nashville. I do not believe that Nashville has a crime problem that merits the National Guard. That's first and foremost. So I disagree with it. I disagree with the last part of it. Is it appropriate? And maybe one could, argue with whether or not his language was appropriate, but is it not appropriate to call out these judges who seem to freely allow violent criminals to get back out on our streets to commit crime again? I mean, I remember the Belmont University student, Jillian Ludwig, who was killed by the individual who was also let out of Chancery Court in Davidson County. I mean, is this not a problem?
So I would really want to see, and I don't know what the other charges were against this individual that resulted in him being set free. Because if those charges are things that are relatively minor, then no, I mean, the judges have to make judgment calls all the time. If they're severe charges that indicate a propensity to commit this type of crime, then absolutely call them out and drag them. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's, if you can't criticize judges for their rulings, we don't live in a free society.
What is so annoying is the willing double standard on the part of some within the media that when, and I think it goes a little both ways, right? When there was some intentional doxing of Supreme Court justices based on some of the rulings that they had engaged in, supporting of Donald Trump policy.
The stuff that Chuck Schumer said about
Chuck Schumer said these things about, you've unleashed the whirlwind. And then that led to heightened security measures around the Supreme Court justice. Now, obviously, a Supreme Court judge and a Chancery judge, two very, very different things. But this pearl clutching is just insufferable. That, I mean, the leftist activists think it's they hide behind the First Amendment to scream Nazi or Gestapo when it comes to immigration and customs enforcement. And I certainly have never suggested that they should be stopped from what they're doing because they do have First Amendment opportunity there. But the pearl clutch, you're going to make we've got to get heightened security, and they're calling on Governor Lee. It's just
look, it's a different story if Representative Ogles tells people to go attack the judges or says something like that. Fine, but we have to get over. We're adults. We got to get over this idea that criticism or somebody disagreeing with you means they want to hurt you. And I disagree with Andy all the time on his performative. He's my congressman, and I think he just did one. A weird fake phone call that was recorded where he's talking about this issue on the phone with someone recording him. And it's just weird. It's bizarre. But I think he's probably right here, that if he wants to criticize them and say, hey, you guys let him go, well, we need to look at why they let him go. But it's okay to criticize them. And that he is, to the best of my knowledge, he did not call for anybody to harm them.
No.
And if he doesn't do that, then I don't think there's a problem.
No, he did say that we need to hold them to account, obviously. And I think the language they didn't like, he said we're at war. And the state should impeach all the judges. Well, I don't know about all the judges.
He says a lot of things that are silly. That's fine. It doesn't matter. I mean, to say impeach all the judges, no, we're not going to do that. Okay. But he's allowed to say that. That's not something that we can say.
Well, and what frustrates me is that the debate, where's the line? I mean, I don't think Andy crossed the line. Mm-mm. And these judges might have some sort of valid reason that they would suggest compelled them to release this guy. Obviously, if they have souls, they are regretful, I would think.
And this happens to judges. Judges make difficult calls all the time. That's the tough. It's very easy for a member of Congress to criticize judges because, I mean, honestly, Congress barely does its own job. And so they're just commenting on what they see.
But for what's frustrating to us is that they seem to be soft on crime. In other words, they defer to letting people out of jail or they defer to saying, oh, this person can't stand a trial because we don't believe they're mentally capable, and the only recourse I have is to let them go. And then, a month later, they've shot and killed a girl.
Yeah, and I think
now somebody's dead, and you can't come back from that.
Agree with you, and I think there's a lot of things that contribute here, particularly with the mental health component. Like I'm sorry, folks, but we need to have asylums again.
Yes,
I mean, we need to have places for folks who are severely mentally ill with nobody to help them to go and be safe, and the rest of us be safe.
Look, the homeless population, generally speaking, it's comprised of a lot of different components, but there is a significant component of the homeless population that need to be somewhere.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why we have gotten afraid to say that.
Yeah, well, we're afraid that asylum is a dirty word or something. You can call it whatever you want to call it. But my point is, I care about the safety of those individuals and the safety of the public. And so I'm not saying that you lock them up and throw away the key, but get them some help. I mean, my tax dollars can go to that. I support that because when you're downtown Nashville and you see some of the things, it's tragic, it's awful, and it's potentially dangerous. So, I mean, that's one of the things we need to discuss.
Well, but, I can respect, and I see you over there. 1313 says, come on, guys, these are not difficult decisions for the judges. Look, I see you over there, and I get it. I understand that. And hindsight's easy to say that. At the same time, what I want is if those judges do suggest that the previous decision was a more difficult one, it was more of a coin flip decision, and then someone goes on to kill people, well, clearly you made the wrong decision based on the act. At very least, should we not expect that those judges are going to be called out on it? At very least, are we not going to hold their record to account when it's determined whether or not they can continue as a judge? If you make a lot of these decisions and you seem to be falling on the bad side of these decisions regularly, and it's always a soft on crime decision, at some point, you need to not be a judge anymore.
And voters should look at that and say, hey, how'd you rule? But for example, if these are misdemeanors like drunk in public and, even like petty theft or something, I can absolutely see a judge saying, the taxpayer doesn't need to carry the burden of keeping you incarcerated. You're going to pay a fine or something, and I'm going to let you go. Because if somebody's drunk in public, that doesn't mean they're going to rape and murder someone.
I can't remember. We talked about this, and I read a rap sheet of this dude, and the rap sheet of the dude was long, but most of the crimes were misdemeanors. Most of the crimes were like criminal trespass or public and disorderly or whatever. But there were a few that were like felony assault. I mean, there was one I want to say was felony assault. I mean, there were a few that were a little more hardcore. So I can't remember the specifics. But bottom line is this. We can agree that Andy reaches the level of performance, for my taste, too often. But I think he's 100% right on this, that it's perfectly permissible to call people out that regularly side with the criminal behavior it feels as opposed to the citizen that could be harmed as a result of releasing.
And don't make something it's not. When Andy says hold them accountable, that's the electoral process. That's hey, we shouldn't keep voting for these folks. We shouldn't keep supporting these folks when they're making bad decisions. That's a reasonable thing to say.
25 after the hour, Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Cameron Smith, Matt Murphy with you. We'll be back in a moment on Super Talk. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy, Cameron Smith. Thank you for being with us this Wednesday evening. Glad to have you along for the ride. It is 6:30. What happened there? It's 6:36 on Super Talk 99.7. You and I were just talking off air, and I want to bring this subject on air because you're doing a bit of a deep dive. When the continuing resolution was passed, when we finally got over the government shutdown, there were a couple of little, I won't call them poison pills, but little sweeteners.
Unrelated random things.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, that were placed in the legislation. One was this deal having to do with, what was it called? Operation Ivory Twist or Arctic Frost. Mm-hmm. There you go. Where the 8 senators were being spied on by the Biden administration, which is wrong.
It is.
Everyone agrees that someone needs to be held to account.
Sure.
But it included this random, the senators get to sue the government for $500,000 each or whatever.
Which is a dumb idea.
Which is a dumb idea, but like, why are we introducing money into this equation? We want accountability. We want to make sure that people who are potentially illegally spying on senators, they need to be held to account. But why does money have anything to do with it? Well, that was one, and we've talked about that. The other was the hemp legislation, I guess, brought forward by Mitch McConnell.
Yep.
Mitch McConnell, who I'm surprised to note is not yet dead.
Yeah.
And is still a senator.
He is.
In Kentucky. And this would, by all accounts within the hemp industry, destroy the hemp industry.
Yeah, it will. And there's an industry that's tens of billions of dollars that sells seeds, cannabis seeds. You can't get high off the cannabis seeds.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the seeds are used to grow cannabis. But the industry that this hits is like 35 to 65-year-old white dudes who like to grow their own weed.
Right.
And this goes to, I don't do that. I'm not a marijuana guy. But as a taxpayer, I don't care if you want to grow, and I don't care how potent it is. If you want to grow marijuana at home and smoke it, eat
at
it,
home,
whatever, at home. Yeah. None of my business. I don't care.
You're grown up.
Yes. And in a world where we have tobacco, we have alcohol, we have all kinds of different things that we would consider vices. I just don't understand why we have singled out this one and have said we must stomp it out. And I know why. If you want to know the truth.
Pharmaceutical industry is part
Pharmaceutical, alcohol.
Right.
You know what's happened? You know all those things with THC in them that people are drinking, the gummies, all that other stuff?
They're eating into the
market share. Alcohol sales are going down.
Right.
So the federal government has a vested interest in making sure that they protect you from growing your own weed. And that to me is dumb.
And it's exponentially dumber that it was done this way.
Yeah.
Intentionally done this way to prevent a robust debate about it prior to the votes.
Right.
They did it in this way to push people to vote for the legislation that probably wouldn't have voted for the legislation otherwise.
Right. The 2018 Farm Bill liberalized a bunch of this stuff, and people got creative with serving size and things like that. And ultimately, we have cannabis products. Let's call it that. And cannabis, hemp, all this stuff, it's all the same plant. It's just different concentrations of THC. THC is the narcotic that makes you high. That's very much like alcohol. You can drink very high proof alcohol and it will mess you up. You can drink a alcohol-free 0.01% O'Doul's and it won't do anything. And so this is very analogous to me. It makes a lot of sense that we wouldn't roll this stuff back, yet here we are, and I think it's very, very silly. And you know who's doesn't care about this stuff? The Chinese, some European markets that are making all the synthetic stuff and just dumping it over here. I mean, guess what?
Well, I would 100% prefer to have somewhat of a weed problem than a fentanyl problem.
Yeah, me too. And on the idea here is, well, we got to keep it away from the kids. You know what kids don't want to do? Grow stuff.
Right.
It is slow. It takes time. They want instant gratification. And look, I'm fine with laws that say, you know what? If you grow this and sell this, we'll come after you.
Why? It fascinates me, the people that are, I would classify them as 100%ers on this issue, that they don't want to talk about any of it. They don't want to have any discussion with you. They're just no, 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 no. And if you hold them down and say, well, what about alcohol? They will tell you. Many of them have. Well, I would if I had my way, alcohol would not be legal either. I'm like, we tried that, and it didn't work at all.
It's the nanny state.
Right? And it's none of the government's business what I do on my property and in my person. I mean, as long as as long as I've reached the age of majority, I understand why you would create restrictions for people who perhaps have not reached a maturity level to make those decisions for themselves. But it is none of the government's business what I do on my property, so long as I'm not violating the rights of other people.
Yes, and this is where I'll back the blue all day long.
Of course.
But here's where law enforcement drives me nuts. Is they said, and I don't mean like cops. I'm talking about prosecutors. Prosecutors want as many tools at their disposal as they can get. If they can nail you on something small, they can kind of bootstrap things and move them around. And I don't want them to have the capacity to say, here's one more tool to go after somebody just because, right? I don't want them to be able to say, well, you sold seeds or you grew this. I don't care. And so that's the kind of things where they like the tool because, and what they'll say is, well, this leads to other crimes, and it's sort of the lesser included offense type thing that they can use. And I just disagree with that.
Well, and the standard arguments that you hear that, marijuana is a gateway drug. No, marijuana is not the. If marijuana is a gateway drug, I would suggest that marijuana is not the gateway. I've long said that if you want to go to the root, the gateway drug is caffeine.
Probably.
And nobody, and everybody goes, when I say this, you didn't, but people roll their eyes. Come on, Matt. No, I'm being deadly serious when I say that. That the first drug that most young people consume in their lives is caffeine.
Yeah. I would say caffeine or nicotine.
Well, and then nicotine follows, sure. And then you follow that up. I guarantee you that maybe not today, maybe I couldn't back this up in 2025, but I would suggest to you that 25 years ago, what follows that is always alcohol.
Yeah.
And so are you suggesting that these things should be illegal too? And what about human liberty? What about human freedom?
So this is the problem with I have with vice laws is, okay, as long as the consumer's informed, it can do that. And of age. I think you ban the heck out of this stuff for people under the age of majority. You say your brains are developing, no is the answer. They're going to find their ways to get hands on it anyway. But my point is slow them down.
But punish the crap out of those businesses and those entities that are caught making it available to the OC.
I would put the penalties through the roof. You lose your business license.
When you and I were kids, right? And I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but when you and I were kids, certainly back in the backwoods of Thompson, Georgia, no P in Thompson, THOMSON, we could find stores that would sell underage kids alcohol because the penalties weren't what they are today. Now, you are hard-pressed, and maybe you can, but you are hard-pressed to find a store that's willing to do that with regularity.
Yes, it's much more difficult.
Because it might be a little bit of a one-off, but the penalties are strong. Go down to Broadway if you're 16 years old, try to buy a beer.
Yeah.
And see what happens to you.
Not a chance.
Not a chance.
It's gonna be
you
tough.
can do the same thing with weed-based substances.
Yeah, and the enforcement here is make it so that breaking the law is not worth it. And the institutions or businesses that are selling this stuff, it's fine. I just don't. We are picking and choosing vices for reasons unrelated to the public harm. And that, to me, is dumb. And a lot of Republicans and conservatives are just saying, well, I don't do this stuff, so I don't care. And I get that. But if we're about limited government, it means even on these things.
Agreed 100%. And it wears me out, the folks that would believe that simply because something is illegal, that it becomes effective in a way that people can't get their hands on it, because it just doesn't work. It does work more so that if you put it, like, we don't see a lot of bootleggers nowadays.
No, you don't.
Because it's not cost effective.
No,
there's no profit motivation to be a bootlegger, because I can go to the liquor store and buy liquor if I'm a grown person.
And it's a lot of work.
And it's a lot of work to do it.
And that's the reason on stuff like hemp and seeds and things like that. Look, nobody wants to grow this stuff. They don't want to actually go through the effort. Kids certainly don't. And so you're literally saying the slowest way to access this thing, we're going to ban because reasons.
I have it on good authority from Dwayne, one of my roommates at West Georgia College, that it is very, very difficult to grow pot.
Yeah. Well.
And stay in school.
In warm climates, is really not. It's a weed. They call it a weed for a reason.
That's true.
It grows like weed.
Well, that's true. But up north,
it's cold.
You got to have grow boxes.
Yeah, you got to have lights. It's expensive. High electric bills.
Spray, whatever they're spraying on it. I don't know what they're spraying on it.
I look, I'm a conservative hippie. I love to grow stuff. And I think the fact that somebody wants to grow something for their own consumption, go for it. Knock yourself out.
5637 has a contrarian point of view, saying, yes, weed is a gateway to harder addictive drugs. We're raising 3 grandkids due to heroin. You really think mommy and daddy started their addiction journey by sticking a needle in it? No, I don't think they started. if you do, you're an idiot. Well, you don't have to call anybody an idiot. 5637, no. I do not believe that mommy and daddy started their addiction journey by sticking a needle in their arms. I also don't believe that mommy and daddy started their addiction journey by buying a bag of weed.
Right.
The point is they started somewhere else. Maybe they started their addiction journey with alcohol. Maybe their addiction journey started with cigarettes. Maybe their addiction journey started with caffeine. I almost guarantee that it did, because caffeine is a stimulant and it is very addictive.
Sugar.
So, I mean, sugar is another example. So the point is, why are we picking weed as the outlier?
Because the industries that have a competitive stake are supporting that. And Betty makes a good point. She said, y'all have lost your minds. I'm extremely allergic to marijuana smoke. I don't want Tennessee to become next Colorado. Amen. I agree. But in that instance, the activity is harming other people.
Right.
If they're at their house, no. Like, if they're at their house, it doesn't bother you.
And by the way, the what they have made illegal in a lot of ways involves no smoke whatsoever nowadays. You know, gummy edibles or those drinks that have the low amounts of THC content, that some of these drinks, and I've had a few of them, they mirror the effects of like a glass of wine. Mm-hmm. Right? That's kind of the impact. I mean, you're not like, slobbering all over yourself. I mean, they just, and they're designed to have an amount of THC in them that would do that.
Yep.
So it is replicating what it would be to drink, a high gravity beer. And
you know what's funny? Guess how many people, and this is DEA information, how many people have overdosed on THC?
Zero.
How many people have died from alcohol poisoning?
A lot of them.
A lot
of them. Marijuana is psychologically and physically addictive. I mean, I don't know. It's certainly psychologically addictive. I'd agree with that. Betty writes in and says, I've not heard you discuss that marijuana is addictive. There's a lot of things that are addictive.
Yeah.
I mean, but that doesn't mean that the government should get involved in dictating to us what we're allowed to put in our bodies based on its addictive nature.
And
that is up to us. There's something called personal response. Y'all, you have to be personally responsible for yourself. Why do you want the government to act as mommy and daddy to tell you, no, you can't do that, no, you can't do that? That's not freedom.
So the most common addictive thing in the world right now is sugar. Sugar literally creates addictions, give you dopamine hits, all the same type stuff. And yet I think most of you would not say that, the government should ban Reese's. I mean, of course not. Oh, well, that's silly. Well, then why should the government...
Why is that silly?
Why should the government ban other things?
Well, if you say the government banning sugar is silly, then can you not understand why Matt Murphy would think that banning weed is silly? It's the same concept.
Yes.
Right? So you think, banning sugar is silly. Why do you think that? Sugar's addictive. Sugar leads to obesity.
Obesity leads to death.
And obesity leads directly to death. So, and it harms other people in society because my medical bills go up because fat people have to go to the doctor and fat people die quick. I mean,
you have to pay for it.
You have to pay for it. So don't tell me that, eating a bunch of sugar is not impacting society. It certainly does.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Smoking, drinking, vice, anything. Like it's the same
Once
argument.
Again, it goes back to and I understand the moral objections and I respect them. I disagree that government should intervene to reinforce your moral objection. The moral objection should be battled in the churches, in our communities, I'm fine with that. I'm fine having those battles away from government enforcement, which is my issue. And number two, the same folks that battle the pharmaceutical industry for their overbearing presence within our government, and the same people that battle the alcohol industry for having an overbearing presence within our government, the people that hate that are many of the same people that say no to weed, when it's those entities that are controlling the lawmakers.
Yes. And it's
not some grand moral objection.
You're talking to somebody that does not smoke weed, eat gummies, do any of that stuff.
And Cameron Smith is here too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But that is consistency, folks. That's what conservatism looks like.
Or libertarianism in my case. It's 52 after the hour. Bill and Bree will try to get to you if possible. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WT, and sometimes we play a game called The Last Thing Matt Heard Before We Come Back on Air. This is not one of those times. It is 57 after the hour, 58 after the hour right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Bree has a thought on the gateway drug experience. Hello, Bree.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
So I don't think weed is the gateway drug. I definitely think it would be more sugar.
Okay.
I wish people understood it a little bit more. We have THC, CBD, and CBN receptors in our brains, so we're meant to receive it in some capacity. I don't necessarily think we're meant to smoke it. And it's the same kind of like with nicotine. We also have nicotine receptors in our brain, so we're meant to have it in some capacity. I don't think the capacity we have now necessarily what we're meant to have. That makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, a lot of people are suggesting that sugar is the ultimate gateway drug, and I don't know that I would necessarily, Bree, thank you. I don't know that I consider, I mean, sugar is also glucose. Are we talking about refined sugar?
Yeah, I would argue that refined sugar, like just getting it from natural sources.
Not like the sugar that you get from a peach.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same stuff, but the concentrations are, it is a manufactured product.
Sure. Okay, and the manufacturer of refined sugar is a gateway drug. I would agree with that.
You drink a Coke, oh my goodness.
I had a real Coke for the first time in like 4 years.
Woo.
Lord. It's like drinking syrup.
You get the sugar shakes.
Freaky deaky. All right, that's going to wrap it up for us. Cameron, thank you.
You're welcome, buddy.
I appreciate you. Jackson, congratulations on your victory today, and congratulations on your little trophy. We'll see what we can do about wrenching that from your cold, dead hands. Thank you to Ken Weaver. Thank you to RJ for controlling the experience, and thank you. We'll be back tomorrow for a Thursday edition. Until then, have a wonderful evening. Hug your loved ones. So long, everybody.